moved any needles in Iowa?
I don't think that it did. I'm not sure it changed Bernie's momentum in Iowa. I think he's got the momentum. These races are toward the end come down to momentum, and I don't think Hillary was able to derail him, his momentum in Iowa. But you got to remember that so much of these Iowa caucuses comes down to an organizational struggle, and they're both very well organized there, and we won't know until caucus day which one has the superior organization. I think whichever one does, because this is a whole evening, Ed, to go to the caucuses. For those of your listeners who don't live in caucus states, you got to find a babysitter. You got to decide that you're not going to do anything else that evening except drive often a fairly long way and spend, a couple of hours. You can't just go in, vote, and leave. That's not the way it works. So it's the candidate who has the best organization to bring their people out who wins those Iowa caucuses, if it's close, which this one is. And we just don't know that yet.
This is Bernie Sanders talking about the national polling last night, and I think he's been waiting for a long time to bring this out on the platform of a debate to try to get people to erase this narrative in their head that Bernie can't win. Listen to this.
Well, let me talk about polling. Secretary Clinton well knows when this campaign began, she was 50 points ahead of me. We were all of 3 percentage points. Guess what? In Iowa, New Hampshire, the race is very, very close. Maybe we're ahead in New Hampshire. In terms of polling, guess what? We are running ahead of Secretary Clinton in terms of taking on my good friend Donald Trump, beating him by 19 points in New Hampshire, 13 points in the last national poll that I saw.
I think he's been waiting a long time to say that.
Yeah. I love the my good friend Donald Trump. The thing about Bernie Sanders is he's turned into a much more charming candidate than I think those of us who've known him around Washington for years expected. We thought that he was going to be a crabbier candidate, and he's got a real he's got a tone, a kind of a light tone that works with the anger, with the sense of outrage in a way that is very effective for his candidacy.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that speaking fees on the rubber chicken circuit don't bother me at all.
Really?
$600,000 from Goldman Sachs or Wall Street to go speak at a banquet, that doesn't bother me.
Really? I'm totally the opposite of you. It's really funny. We really disagree on this point. It's one of the things that I really do not like about Hillary Clinton's behavior in the last few years. I think it was really dumb of her to do that. Why did she do that after she left as Secretary of State?
She can make money.
She had plenty of money. They're worth tens of millions of dollars. Some people think the Clintons are worth close to $100 million. She knew, or she should have known, that this would send a terrible signal. It's a symbolic thing, but it's not smart. It's not smart, and it doesn't put you in a good position to go after them hammer and tong. Now, I mean, I think on the other hand, I think that she has more credibility on health care. So when he says, look, I want to go back and, we're going to get single payer. Look, everybody, including you and me, we are ideally for single payer. But it is not practical right now. And I thought that she kind of nailed him on the fact that Vermont tried it and they had to back away from it in his home state.
You need political power to do that kind of stuff. You not
only need political power to send the insurance companies into oblivion. His position means abolishing all health insurance companies in the United States.
But he's also talked about a political movement to accomplish that. That's what he's starting.
That's not going to happen. Here's the problem, Ed. Here's the problem. It takes energy on a particular issue to create really big political change like that.
Yeah.
You and I argued about this in the run-up to the passage of Obamacare in late 2009, early 2010. Democrats have been trying without success at that point for 70 years to get single payer. It's not a matter of just, winning the presidency and then starting to build a movement. It is super tough to do that. You're telling everybody, you're throwing everybody off their insurance and saying your insurance now is the government. It's highly unlikely to happen. And the question is it a good use of energy and resources to do that, or to fix Obamacare, to fix some of those high deductibles, issues of doctor's choice and so forth that are still a little problematic in Obamacare. And I think Hillary got the better of that argument in part because she has a lot of credibility on this issue. I mean, people know going back to 1993 that she, and even earlier, that
Bernie was on the committee that wrote the Affordable Care Act.
But she's a true expert on that. And
Bernie both want the same thing. It's their path to get there is different.
Right, and her path is way more realistic. But where I think that Bernie has the edge is just in capturing this real sense of genuine and appropriate outrage that the wealthy in our country have too much power, and that's where her taking $600,000 from Goldman comes into play.
Back to Wall Street for a moment. Bernie Sanders, thinks the way you do when it comes to taking speaking fees from Wall Street. Here it is.
First difference is I don't take money from big banks. I don't get personal speaking fees from Goldman Sachs.
Where we disagree is the comments that Senator Sanders has made that don't just affect me, I can take that, but he's criticized President Obama for taking donations from Wall Street. And President Obama has led our country out of the Great Recession. But look, I have a plan that
nobody's in jail.
Most commentators have said is tougher, more effective, and more comprehensive.
Secretary Clinton, and you're not the only one, so I don't mean to just point the finger at you. You've received over $600,000 in speaking fees from Goldman Sachs in 1 year.
What do you think of that, Jonathan? I
want to draw a distinction here between taking some money from Wall Street as part of a billion-dollar campaign, so you don't unilaterally disarm against the Republicans, which Barack Obama did. And I think if Bernie Sanders were nominated, which I think you and I agree is possible, that he should take money from whoever he can to win the presidency, and it doesn't mess up the campaign because both Sanders and Obama, and I think increasingly Clinton, have an army of small donors, people giving under $100 on average, that the Republicans do not have, and that neutralizes anything that some additional money from Wall Street would be buying in a general election. However, I think that personal money that goes into your pocket through speaker's fees, well, it might be fine for anybody else. I mean, I don't have, I take speaking fees. I'm sure you do as well.
Sure.
I don't think is right if you're trying to, is smart. I mean, it's not disqualifying in any way. It doesn't make me want to vote against somebody, but I don't think it is a smart thing to do if you want to run one of these campaigns saying that you're not too connected to Wall Street. So to me, it goes to her judgment. Like, why in 2013, 14, whenever it was, why would she be doing this instead of having her head screwed on right about appearances? So to me, it's more that than that. That somehow it's wrong to take money as Obama did for your campaign.
Yeah. She just cannot bring herself to breaking up the banks, and that's what Bernie wants to do. He thinks that's the crux of it all, and I don't disagree. Jonathan Alter, always great to visit. We'll do it again. Thank you.
Great talking to you.
You bet.